So next up, we'll talk more about defense theme and more about cybersecurity. So starting up, we have a panel discussion with, I think, quite a diverse bunch of people who each of them will represent a specific area of the topic. So welcoming a panel discussion on the securing the future, balancing cybersecurity and innovation. And as a first up, I'll welcome the moderator of the discussion, Elvīra Krēķe, co-founder of Legal Hackers Latvia. Welcome.
Hello everyone, I'm really glad to see you here and exciting 2 days that are going to happen in the next 2 days in TechChill. And now we have here gathered for the next 30 minutes to talk about cybersecurity and innovation. Thank you for the chair. Particularly in a time where artificial intelligence continues to advance, how it can play an important role in cybersecurity. During this discussion, we will also talk about and delve into more the synergies between AI and cybersecurity, the risks associated with their integration, and also the possible opportunities and benefits for businesses and organizations. So I will now introduce three of very experienced panelists that will join me today in this discussion. The first being Pēteris Paikens, who is machine learning scientist applied for NLP, which is natural language processing, and information security at the Institute of Mathematics and Computer Science of University of Latvia. Welcome, Pēteris. The next is Ēvalds Urtāns, founder, CEO, and also CTO of Asya, an AI research, software development, and design company. And he's also a CEO and CTO for Pitch Patterns, a call analysis software. And the last but not least is Kirils Solovjovs, who is the founder of Possible Security, a premium segmented IT security company, research assistant at Institute of Electronics and Computer Science, previously at Artificial Intelligence Laboratory at the Institute of Mathematics and Computer Sciences of the University of Latvia. Thank you all for joining us at this panel. Strong expertise, very incredible backgrounds. I think it will be a very interesting discussion. So let's jump right into the first question. And to warm up a bit you and warm up also our panelists, I will ask and start from the basics. So the first question I will ask to Kirils. Can you shortly explain to us what is AI in cybersecurity?
First of all, thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure. So AI and machine learning in cybersecurity is not new. We've seen a lot of hype going on, specifically in the past couple of months with artificial intelligence, and I have to say the impact of the new developments in cybersecurity, if any, we are yet to see how it's gonna impact that. But we've had, as I mentioned, multiple useful applications of machine learning in cybersecurity so far. For example, anti-malware solutions, so the tools that protect your computer from different malware. They've been using one kind or another of machine learning for many tens of years. One more sophisticated example is user behavior analytics, which is a data loss prevention mechanism where a big company might install it on their systems to try and understand how users behave using machine learning, and then when any single user deviates from their own behavior, then an alert is raised. So we've seen those tools in the past, and I'm excited to see what we can have in the future.
Mm-hmm. And Pēteri, could you maybe also comment on this, and maybe then add what kind of what are the maybe measures that you have seen, what kind of impact it has made in the applications of AI?
Well, I personally feel it's quite an early stage yet. We have a bunch of products which are kind of showing proof of concept, and we have a lot of companies providing, let's say, AI capabilities in their PR, but with limited impact in their products. Like, as Kirils mentioned, there are some niches where they are getting used, but for like all kinds of monitoring and detecting solutions, false positives is a huge problem because, you know, real attacks are quite rare, and if you have like something that's 99% correct, you will get drowned in this 1% of fake events, which are just accidents of normal behavior.
So what you're saying is that the effectiveness of it's really hard to determine currently, right?
Well, it's not that hard to determine. I think it needs more maturity yet. Like, there are companies working on the products, The products are there, the potential is great, but it's getting more and more useful, but I'm not sure if it's there today. It's maybe there in coming years with all these companies making better products.
Okay. Ēvalds, I wanted to ask you also, so you and your colleagues in ASYA, you have developed custom AI solutions. You also helped companies to implement AI. I wanted to ask, what are the largest benefits that you see companies benefit from AI introduction in cybersecurity?
Yeah, so on the security side, right now, I think it's hard to estimate right now, but I can tell you one that right now I think we are in kind of asymmetric situation that for attackers this is a good moment and not as good for defense because there's a large amount of startups claiming that they can detect even like in cybersecurity also the area of getting flooded by fake communication also is a problem, and I don't believe that there will. I have been in the deep learning research as my colleagues for like over 10 years, and knowing how the large language models work, I don't believe there's any startup that can detect this reliably, so I would say that attackers have an upper hand, and the large language models actually democratizes the attacker. So basically, some person without cybersecurity knowledge can now start attacking systems.
Yeah, you mentioned these fake conversations, for example, and I actually wanted to also ask you about deepfakes. And we know now that it's possible to mimic anyone's voice. You can make a video to mimic some. There have been attacks, for example, where you can be a bank, you can be someone pretending to be someone from a bank and call someone else and then try to get the money out of this person. And how do you think, what should we really do to mitigate these risks for these attacks to happen? Do we need to educate the society, or what do you see?
Yeah, there's 2 points. One, the technological point. So in our system that we use, we can detect the voice identification, give the operator confidence if this person is calling the right person. But again, for machine, this is right now still doable, because the data points for voice, it's like 16,000 or maybe 14,000 data points a second. It's like crazy amount, and it's kind of easy to fool, to detect that this is a fake. It's not as easy for visual, and for text, the discrete data, it is even harder. So, and the other thing is the society, and we all, right, we know that there is a yellow press, right? We don't believe the texts we read on the newspapers, right, so easily. So we should not believe what we hear, see. So it's like that kind of age right now.
So it's basically development of critical thinking and trying to filter out what are the information that we're getting. I will be turning a bit back. Kirils, I also wanted to ask you on insight on the benefits. So maybe you could comment on the benefits of the companies for introducing AI in cybersecurity as a IT security expert.
Well, first of all, I'd like to comment on what Ēvalds said, if possible. Attackers have always been in front of defenders in cybersecurity. Since before cyber was used as a real term, back when cyber was used only sarcastically, even then, and it's been like that forever. It's not an AI thing. We still have to seize the day when it turns around. So that's the real thing. Having AI in your product, I think it's a marketing advantage at the current point, and of course for that one unicorn that is to come up and find the right source, the right application of AI. It's also a huge actual benefit. But I think one of the things that Pēteris was trying to convey is, in the recent years, no one has found it yet. So it's up to you to find it. If you want to risk, I think it's a huge risk. I don't think it's impossible, but it's quite hard. Lots of people are doing it. It's easy to market. We have AI. That thing works. Marketing works. But to actually do something useful that adds value, something new, that's a hard challenge.
It is, right? And we will come to risks also after a moment, but I still do want to touch upon the benefits. And I wanted to ask Ēvalds the next question. Could also AI possibly benefit security researchers, for example, by assisting them to find bugs or code errors?
Yeah, sure. That is the on the other end, the large language models right now. This is kind of the, I'm going back to this because this is the way how to democratize the access to attacks and also to the defense. So even if you're not a star programmer, now using the GitHub Copilot, right, and tools like that, you can write better code faster. Also the search tools, there is a tool called Chat PDF, there is a tool called LangChain, there is the Perplexity AI. So there's lots of tools for example, I'm a researcher, I take a paper, right, and some of you have ever seen the research papers, right, they're full of equations, you don't understand what's there, you just drop in this document and write in natural language question. So how can I use this to attack my friend's computer? It will give you the exact steps how to do this based on that paper. So you can imagine that this kind of democratizes the research as well.
Yeah, it does. And how about AI use in detecting vulnerabilities, Pēteris? Is it possible?
How to say, like currently, if you take GPT-4 and put in a bunch of code with a common flaw, no matter if it's security flaw or logic flaw, it can actually more or less identify it and highlight, hey, perhaps you should look at this and perhaps this might fix that. So there are options. There are also big, a direction of research on using machine learning to ease analysis of malware. So if we have something malicious on a computer, then we can analyze it faster and tell what it does. But I think in relation to what Ēvalds was saying about this lowering barriers of entry, what current tools do, they allow someone to do stuff that many other people involved can do. And that's, for an experienced practitioner, perhaps it saves some time, but it allows you to do something that you don't know how to do, but many other people involved do. So you can do stuff in a new programming language. So one aspect is that it allows you to, let's say, write exploits as an average attacker, even if you don't have these specific skills, but there are others who do, and ChatGPT can mimic that. But it also can allow a junior programmer to write code at a level of average programmer in some sense. Perhaps there are some things that a Stack Overflow or YouTube tutorial doesn't cover, but a good Copilot or the next version of Copilot can say that, hey, writing it this way could be slightly better. Why don't you do that?
Speaking of the frontiers of attack technologies and where AI is, some years ago, I believe it was a grand challenge by DARPA. They had a challenge where participants had to create computer program that would attack other computer programs of other participants without any further interaction from the team, and it was quite successful. That's the frontier, I believe. I have no idea what happened to them because it was successful and then they disappeared. I haven't heard of the challenge anymore, but it is possible. So.
Okay, Ēvalds, you wanted to add something?
So the one thing you already noticed, that using these large language models that are fine-tuned for human interaction, we can kind of program computers not using programming languages but natural language. So you can imagine that you could generate things like we just discussed, also using now natural language, but and you're thinking, okay, these large language models have limitations, but these limitations already, there are many ways how to bypass them.
And of course, as we heard from you, AI can be beneficial to make some work effective more, or maybe look to increase their skill set. As you mentioned, junior programmer can program in an average level if it may use AI. We also know that AI in cybersecurity can make certain decisions based on input data, right? So in simple terms, it could be, for example, it could label a email a spam email if it would detect a possibility of phishing scam. It would also possibly deny access to a certain data set if there would be a possibility of a cyber attack or a ransomware. And the possibility of a human error is still much lower with using AI than it would be a human doing the task. But still, Ēvalds, what do you think? What should be the human involvement in the AI decision-making process, and should there any be?
Yeah, these models are like like a helper for the assistant. That's why they're called also the assistants, like for the human, right? I think the one thing what will happen is that we'll have systems which will give us also in cybersecurity much enhanced awareness. So imagine you have a server farm, and you can you get some suspicious activity, and you start prompting the agent, like what could be the reason for this, or give me quickly the ways how to resolve this, or and things like that, and it will give you the advice how to proceed, and then you will yourself do it. So I think something like that.
Okay. What do you think, Pēteris?
I'm a bit more skeptical about the current uses. I'm thinking if we look at what the top people are doing and top organizations doing right now, they are not basing their defenses on effectively AI tools. They are basing on very skilled people and a large set of regular expressions or detections for very specific things, for very specific malicious things or events that are happening. So I think there's great potential, but today, if there's a really high-level defense, we are seeing humans doing this way. What we are seeing right now, applications in AI, is not in doing things better, but doing things cheaper. So that's a big thing. We can do stuff without expensive people, or with fewer people, or with less skilled people. I think currently the ball is right there. But we will reach an inflection point where some startup will get things actually working better than human. But so when that will come, it's hard to tell.
So you're saying it wouldn't be best to rely only on technology, and there's human involvement really needed.
Can I give a comment? I think it'll be very interesting situation in near future. Might be that cybersecurity will overlap with the system policies very much. So you imagine that, if you have absolutely no way to distinguish between text generated by human or machine, and the attackers are not stupid. They will not use the same IP addresses. They will not use the same endpoints, same links, same words, right? So then I think the solution would be systematic. So for example, that you will need to pay for everything, right? So if you get the messages, the sender should pay for this. So I think there will be kind of counterintuitive, really strange solutions which will actually work, and which will not be based so much on technology, but based on new business models, basically.
You really made a good point. Of course, AI, when the applications are increasing, it's not only that the good guys use it, right? It's also the attackers, and they're also getting more smarter, so we need to adapt. But I also then wanted to ask to you, Pēteris, then AI is as good as it can be trained on specific data, and when we are trying to protect ourselves against these malicious attacks and attackers who also use AI, we probably need to, before train our AI to recognize these attacks, right? And sometimes companies don't have the resources to actually access these malicious codes, malware codes, or anomalies. And could you tell us how to ensure this data source of AI training is reliable and not biased? And what are some good practices to remember in this regard?
Well, again, for the security applications of like monitoring, detecting attacks, we have to, like if we go back to basics of what current machine learning models do, they are very good at interpolation between things that it has seen, and they can be wildly unpredictable when going to novel things like beyond what it has ever seen. And that works for most cases. That works for most applications where data is random or in some way perhaps changing over time. But it works poorly for like malicious data where the attacker knows the particular AI system which is being used and can adapt the attack to not be detected by this particular system. So the way I see that can be reliable is you can reliably detect normal behavior. And but then you have the unusual behavior, which will include all the novel attacks which have never been tried before, and you are the first victim. And it will involve your users trying a new magic tool for the first time, which works differently, but a benign tool. So, but the distinction, is it good or bad for these unusual things, it can't be yet decided by machine learning solutions because there is no data for that and you can't have data for that. But it can detect anomalies, which perhaps should be investigated. But again, it's a high bar to spend the time to investigate anomalies. Like most companies I see in practice, they have to work on basics. They can't afford to worry about level 3 problems if they are failing at level 1.
Yeah, and the attacks, like you said, can be unpredictable and new at each time. So we have actually 6 minutes only left. I wanted to ask Kirils, what are maybe the other risks that you can identify that haven't been mentioned before?
Well, I actually just came up with one. Ēvalds helped me. He was giving a more offensive perspective on the on using the current language models. So you probably have heard the opinion that the OpenAI models like DaVinci, ChatGPT 3, 4, they are really great at creating convincing texts of complete bullshit, which is a problem. That's not a good thing. But for an attacker, that's what you need. You could actually employ the current AI models as they are to dynamically create effective phishing campaigns to be sent over emails or sent over phones using voice generation. So that's a cool thing that we just came up with.
Yeah, Ēvalds.
We have seen that in practice.
Oh, really?
We have seen like romance scams recently done by a person who doesn't speak the language but generated the text,
And again,
the throw text using voice.
Think about one thing, like we are here in Baltic, Latvia. Like we are not the prime target for these attacks. This is happening in the United States right now. So again, turning back that this is like an opportunity for guys who want or girls who want to build some new products, right? So I think like those who are already in email products, right? They have opportunities to make a lot of money. So I think these AI advancements actually might have counterintuitive effects, like everything will become much more expensive, I think, not cheaper, and the attacks also will be completely new landscape, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted Ēvalds you to comment on potential privacy risks that might arise from the data entered by the user. What can you comment on that?
This is good thing. Like how much do you trust and believe all of these companies that hold these large language models? Everything that you enter there, they store it, and of course, they share it with. And also, you can think about the way how the marketing will change. So Google. Forget about Google Ads, right? The AdWords. So imagine that your assistants, these chatbots, give you suggestions about products that you need to buy, and this is based on some kind of ad deal in the background,
Yeah, great point. So we don't have much time left. I wanted to take these last 3 minutes for the questions for all of you. So what do you think, in what direction AI and cybersecurity is going? What are the future prognoses? How the industry is going to develop? So let's start with Kirils.
Well, it's really unpredictable. As I mentioned before, we will be looking at some completely new advancements, but it's going to be a surprise, at least for me. It's totally going to be a surprise. It's super hard to predict where it's going to strike, right? Currently, at least for the next 5 years, I believe the hype of the natural language processing models will have converted into some actual products, and that's where advancements will be. If it actually will impact cybersecurity, not directly. Colleagues already mentioned that accessibility is what will be impacted, so it will be easier for entry-level attacker, entry-level defender, and so on to actually access this. But I don't see. It's very unlikely that we're going to see some new things that can be done with AI in the coming years. But I hope I'm wrong.
Like a problem solution. You know, new tools. You need to pay for them. Everything becomes more expensive on both sides.
Yeah. Ēvalds, do you have anything to add more? Okay, Pēteris.
I'd like to raise a point about detecting all these things. So I think it's a philosophical question, like, can God make a so heavy stone that he himself can't lift it? So either there can be undetectable generators or unbeatable detectors. And I'm fairly convinced that you can make a generator that generates in a perfect world something that's not distinguishable in any way. And I think for text we will be there very soon. Current ChatGPT can be detected with some methods, but they can be circumvented. It's just people don't care about it yet. For images, we need some more work to improve image quality. For video, some even more work. But I think we have to expect that if we look at long-term perspective, we will lose the capability to automatically distinguish generated content from human-generated content. And we have to change the social means on how we trust on trust.
It's also interesting to think that, why the Elon Musk is now making the Twitter, for pay, right? And then the Facebook wants to be also some members subscriptions, right? So they are already preparing for this big event that you say. Imagine like one day everybody wakes up and Twitter is full of generated content, right?
But I fully disagree with your position on that. I think attackers are those who are willing to pay $10 for disposable account because they earn that money back right away from scams. So the real people might not be willing to pay as much as the attackers are willing to pay.
Okay, so you remember that they need to be linked with the bank accounts.
Stolen credit cards.
Lots of stolen.
Yeah, a lot of interesting discussions can be continued, and we actually are out of time, so I'm saying thank you for the short discussion that we had. Maybe I wanted to take a quick time if anyone has any questions for the panelists. If not, then you can try to catch them after discussion. But yes, thank you for this talk for you all. And I wanted to shortly say that Riga Tech Girls recently, yesterday, launched a new chapter, which is Women for Cyber. So any women who are interested to join Women for Cyber are encouraged to follow the social media. And also for Legal Hackers Riga, where we talk about innovation legal industry. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.